right. All right. Rock and roll. I think we are live. I believe we are live. It's always fetching the video stream, but I believe we are rocking and rolling. So excited to be here. Michael Gebbin for another Jumpstart session. We've got some great topics for you today. Picking one niche, yes or no? That is always the question that we battle with, or that we're told, the single target market. So I'm going to talk about that. Morning versus night owl. Which one is better? The my way decision to better videos, clients, and money. No, it is not my way. It is your way. And we will talk about that. Hair's falling off me. 600,000 plus unread emails. So those are the topics. So these Jumpstart sessions are designed to give you a greater sense of clarity, confidence, and connection. I believe the more clear you are, the faster you'll move. The more confident you are, the better jobs you'll get, the more you'll get paid. And, the more connected you are with self and others. That cliche, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I believe that to be true in a lot of ways. And so I love doing these. Been getting great feedback. Typically try to do them about 3 to 5 times a week right now. We're going to be making some tweaks here in the coming weeks, but right now just keeping the consistency with what I'm doing. So if you want to, at the current moment, check out other ones. I think this is like 21 or 22. Just type my name in the search box, and when normally I'm kind of covering 4 topics, they're usually interwoven together, not always, but I do my best. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get right into it. So picking one niche, yes or no? It's fascinating because, as I always say, and nuance, the word nuance I use a lot. Because I just feel like the topics that I'm covering, it's not so black and white. It's not so cut and dry. And so, what I found in my career is that although I ended up in different niches, and yes, if you have a single target market that you're ultimately, well, there he is, that you're ultimately working with, it's fantastic. I mean, from a marketing perspective, the best example is weddings. I think real estate comes in pretty close. But when we talk about just video, when we talk about just editing, there's a lot of things you can edit. There's a lot of things that you can shoot. I have one buddy, he's a phenomenal editor, and he's grown very fast in just 1 year. If you guys can hear this too, give some likes and love, give a rock and roll hell yes in the comments. So I know it's working. It seems to be working, but so there we go. Awesome. Tristan, my man. And so he became a very good editor very quick, but he was editing a bunch of different things, and he realized that, really a sizzle highlight reel, 2 to 4 minutes long, with either just music, either just music and clips or music and testimonials. That was his favorite thing to edit, and he became very efficient at editing that. He knew how long roughly it would take him to do it, so pricing it became simpler. And people, if I knew somebody needed that, I knew he was the guy to edit that. But he was editing, even for me, he edited some courses where, there's 5 hours of footage, maybe a couple cameras, there's slides that need to be added in, et cetera, et cetera. And he didn't like that at all. And so that's editing. Some people say, I love editing. I love shooting. Yeah, but he tended to procrastinate more when it came to editing the course than it came to editing a sizzle reel. And so that's the same thing here when we talk about, well, what are the couple niches that are very easy to understand? It's like weddings, real estate. With a wedding, the majority of people you're going to talk to is a female who's engaged. Sometimes you'll talk to grandparents and parents and the groom and other people. But typically the person doing the research and typically the person that you're going to talk to, for the most part, is engaged female between the ages of, on the low end, maybe 18 to 20, but typically, from a price perspective, who's probably going to pay a little bit more, they're going to be somewhere between maybe 24, 30, 32 years old. I know I got married at 30 years old. So, because that's the thing, but it's very simple to know who you're going after, where to market, who to connect with, florists, DJs, venues, churches, obviously wedding coordinators. It's very easy to know who you're working for, who you can connect with, and how to make those bridal shows. There's all these different things. And even if you're targeting in ads, somebody, you can run on Facebook a female who's engaged 22 to 29 in a 10-mile radius of where you live. I mean, hell, if you want to do, you can run ads in other states and other places and still hit that person, put the right little bit of copy around it, and a wedding video. And so people who are not that, doesn't mean they won't watch it, but they're going to self-select themselves. And overall, if the targeting's right, you should only be showing that to people who could be prospective. The biggest problem is, do they already have somebody, or do they even want it at all? And maybe seeing the video will help, change that mind. Awesome. How to become a great commercial video editor. Awesome. Practice, and network. Great. If you guys have questions too, leave those in. I'll definitely get to some of those. But here's the thing. I used to say business, brand, or bride because our niche kind of became, it was twofold. It became a style, which you're all being taught, quite frankly, the same style of the work even I have, that Parker has in the group here and everything. And so that style of video, it can be applied to a business, brand, or a bride. It doesn't matter who you're shooting for. You can go and shoot similar types of B-roll, and then, we get into testimonials and interviews, and you can approach these things in a different way. The overall, what's in the visual, if I shoot a 6,000 person event, that's going to be different than a little birthday party with 20 people, but you could still approach that shoot in a similar way. You could still approach that edit in a similar way. And so our vibe of our overall videos had a similar look and feel. Now, typically throughout my career, my main clients have been events, workshops, masterminds, conferences, weddings, things that are live action, things that something happens in front of me, I capture it, edit it, and then, typically with what we do, we get testimonials. That was when I was able to almost double rates, is when I started getting interviews and testimonials and incorporating that in and being able to make what we call case study edits and have other little edits that we can make in addition to the main edit. So you can have like a music video only edit. You can have an edit with multiple testimonials around multiple topics to convey, an event. Or we have a case study edit, which is an individual edit on an individual person. But, I ended up getting into the niche of, masterminds and entrepreneurs and the conference world, thought leaders, speakers. That is an industry and a niche that I kind of accidentally ended up in. I wanted to get more into coaching and training. And so I started trading my video skills to film these people's, events. And then I did on-site edits. So I did a sizzle that we showed before the event ended to everybody. Somebody'd see it. And it just kind of rabbit trailed until I was getting paid. And then I got paid more. And then when I worked for Tony Robbins, these people like, oh my God, I want the guy who worked for Tony Robbins. And it was just a spider web effect. And so even though here and there we went and did videos like, for schools, nonprofits, all sorts of different things, but we still took that same approach. But sometimes if you're treating every single project and everything that comes your way completely different from scratch, everything feels like, you never know what's coming. You never know what's going to happen. The client doesn't necessarily know, what's going to happen. And they're you're storyboarding and scripting and staging things and hiring actors and, there's not an example of the kind of final product that someone's going to get. So, I find that that's fine. And somebody that I coach, asked me, because Parker says we'll do a lot of different things. And I was telling this person to focus. I'm kind of talking about focusing here, but I do believe when you have no clue on earth at all who you'd like to work with, what you'd like to do, no focus whatsoever, then that is absolutely phenomenal advice. You need to try a lot of different things. And but what I find is certain networks of people, certain industries, they talk, they see other things, they want what somebody else did. And so, the referrals and word of mouth start to happen. And all of a sudden, before you know it, you're working a lot within a specific, potentially niche. And so it's really awesome. Glad you like the live setup. And so it's interesting. So I think that although it's important to do different things and have that variety, at the same time, if you can focus, your marketing gets easier. Because I think at times, what I've seen is I had one buddy, he wanted to do real estate. He reached out to 200 realtors. He wanted to do poker runs, which are boat races. He reached out to a couple hundred boat races. And he had an example to be able to show and then put that in front of a concentrated, group of people. At times I've found throughout my career, it's been easier for me to get jobs and opportunities when I'm showing a sample within that specific area than it just is to show something completely separate. The first video I did for Tim Ferriss back in the day, I had mainly wedding videos, but I had one party I filmed for free, and that's the video I sent them. One video, very specific. I didn't just send them to my website. Hey, look at everything. It was a simple email with one video inside. This is what I think I could do for you. And, that video happened to be a free video, and that video opened the door, and really that was the spider web effect of all sorts of great opportunities. So, I think from a marketing perspective, there's a lot of power. Now, one could argue if you only do one thing, you're going to be very bored. There's truth to that. But if you're only one person, and depending on how you do market and what you put out into the world, the ability for you to just end up with tons of different things may be difficult. If it happens, fantastic. It doesn't mean you shouldn't take things. I always want people to show and do what they want to do. So when I see somebody who has a portfolio and they say, well, here's the 12 videos, and these 10 videos pay the bills, and these are the 2 I love to do. Well, I would argue remove the 10. Like, why? We're not in business. I mean, especially if you're self-employed and you do not work for somebody else. The whole point of that is for you to get to do things you love, for you to work on projects, for you to have, sorry, it's like a little critter, for you to be able to work on projects, and it's definitely live, right? Work with projects, work on clients, all these different things that you're excited about. Why the hell are we working on, 80-20, 90-10, 95-5? Like, I'm not saying there'll never be this bad apple or some crazy thing pops up, but that shouldn't be the majority. You shouldn't have 10 videos on your portfolio that you hate doing and 2 that you love. It's not going to be coincidental that you probably continue to get more and more and more projects and clients that you don't like. Because if those people are referring, or if people see that work, they're going to potentially go, I want that. And in your head, you're going to be going, here we go. And this is in your head, right? This is not what comes out. Here we go again. Another one of these. So excited. Can't wait to do this again. This sucked the last time. And outside you go, sure, we can do that. How much is it going to pay? 2 thumbs up, And I think that what I've been able to leverage free work is having the ability to use that free work as an example in a portfolio piece where nobody's controlling me. If you're enjoying this, give it some likes and love. Give me a comment. Give me a rock and roll. Let me know if this is your first time listening, or if you've been here before. And if you have any questions, let me know. If you have any yeah buts, I always love the rebuttals. I love the feedback. I'm gonna quickly scroll through here before I go on anymore. So the 3 C's sign is crooked today. Yeah, I know. I gotta fix this sign. All right, I gotta fix the sign. For some reason, the dang sign won't quite stay. There we go. There we go. So hopefully it's straight now. Hopefully it stays. I gotta readjust. I gotta reattach the thing. Dang gaffer tape ain't holding it up. Anyways, so let's see here. Nice live setup. Always want to catch one of these live. Awesome. First time. Thanks, Julie, for being here. This is so true. I have a doctorate in physical therapy and made my own videos, as well as videos for other physical therapists. Now I'm going to be the go-to for the entire profession. Exactly, right? And so it's a perfect example, and I find that, even just, I love to throw nuggets in here, as things pop up, but, the reality is that we all have people in our network. Sometimes when we're looking for jobs and opportunities to create videos, we forget that our mom, our dad, our brother, our sister, our best friend, the best friend's friend, our uncle, like there's people that we know. And I learned this from an event that I film, and They talk about create your top 20 list. Now, this particular event's about getting media, but I think this 100% works for any of you. Create a list. Create a list of your top 20 people. Do not evaluate them at this point in time on whether you really think that they could do anything, but just think of 20 people that you know who have jobs, who have their own business potentially. That's even better, of course. But what you'll find is you're typically just 1 degree of separation away from an opportunity. Because I've seen this one particular guy, he wanted to meet the CEO of the New York Times. Well, it just so happened that Pops, who was retired, who used to be a school teacher, was on the board of something that the CEO of the New York Times was there, and his dad was able to connect him with the CEO of the New York Times. He was able to then get an article in the New York Times. And so it's crazy when you have that ability to just kind of look within your network sometimes, because then that's the momentum that you can get going. And no matter where you're at, take it for granted even when you're a little bit further ahead in your career at times. If you're looking to branch out, that's a great way. So I agree. I have tried tons of things myself: newborn, interiors, weddings, products, food. It was good at the beginning, but 5 years of photography, I'm only focusing on commercial videos. Shot a couple of free videos, now looking for 2 to 3 more good videos to show as my portfolio. Yeah, so I think it's great to try things, right? And then you'll end up, and I think you're the same one who said then you're now, or is that a different person? Maybe not. Different person, I think. Doing in the doctorate physical therapy area. So, you just got to ask yourself the question: how much time do you have? Who do you like to work with? Because that's the thing too. If different things come in, it doesn't mean don't take them. But who would you really like to enjoy working with? I think it's a great question to ask, because then you start seeking that out rather than being like, I'll work with anybody. I just love shooting. I think one would argue once you start shooting different things, you'll find there's things you don't like to shoot. Once you start editing things, there's things you don't like to edit. People used to say to me, oh, you're so creative. And I'd get these blank slates where people, like on a music video or different things, and they'd be like, oh, you can come up with the concepts. And that was crippling for me. It really was. Well, as other people, like, that's their holy grail. Like, oh my gosh, that's great. So one person's blessings, another's curse. One person's trash is another's treasure. So that's where when you start collaborating within the group, and you guys find sweet spots, you have that ability to network and connect and send things off, and people send things back to you. And I've seen people when we've stood strong for what we do best, and they don't really need that, but we stand strong for it. Maybe we refer them, maybe we don't, depending on if we know somebody. And I've seen them come back later. It's a wonderful thing. So morning versus night owl, which one's better? Little random topic here, but I was talking to one of my coaching guys, and we were talking about this because there's a lot of advice and what you'll find. And he's like, I don't typically give advice as a whole. And this is what he was saying to me this morning. I don't know if he's watching. I think he was watching right now. But I don't typically like to try to tell people exactly what to do. I want to empower people to make their own decisions. And so for me, I don't try anymore, and I used to infuse what I like or dislike or what works or doesn't work for me onto everyone else. And one of these is just the random topic of morning versus night owl. There's plenty of books that'll tell you this is what happens if you get up early and you do this, this, and this, and take the bull by the horns in the morning. And if you start that way, the rest of the day is going to be great. And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I think that there's a lot of things out there that aren't necessarily right or wrong. I mean, if I'm in Alaska and it's 20 below zero and I have swimming trunks on, there's nothing wrong with potentially with my swimming trunks or my outfit. It's just in the wrong environment, right? And if I got a full-blown parka and everything dressed for 20 below and it's 110 degrees, well, not necessarily anything wrong with what I've got on, just wrong with where I'm at again. And so I think that's a big thing, is that there's no right or wrong. What's right and wrong is right and wrong for you. So if you're this person who you're super, super, super productive between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 o'clock in the morning, and you like to get up at 10 or 11, and that works for you, but you keep seeing things that are telling you that you're crazy, that's bad, you really need to start, getting up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. and doing this and that, you might fight that and resist that, and then you're just wasting time and you're wasting energy. And awesome. I love to work with clients that trust me and let me direct the shoot rather than clients that want to tell me what to do because they don't know. Yeah, and I'll talk about that, Julie, in a second. I talk about kind of the subway effect. If you're enjoying this, give us some likes and love. Give it a thumbs up. Give me some comments. I love the interaction today. We're getting more and more interaction all the time. So neither one's better. And if you find yourself going back and forth, that's great. I find the more you find alignment, the more you get aligned with yourself and your intuition and your gut and what works for you, what resonates with you, what doesn't resonate, you try to get rid of. That's when you're going to win. It's when you're fighting things and you're trying to be this fish trying to climb a tree. That's when I believe we're wasting time. And I find that the more you start to observe on a daily basis, what excites you, what drains you, when do you procrastinate, when do you not procrastinate? And you start looking at this. And the thing is, no one else can tell you that. I can't tell you what's right for you. I can't tell you need to be a morning person. You need to get up at 5 a.m. I can't tell you. It may work for me. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And so if you trust me, back to Julie's thing there, if you trust me and I tell you that, shove that down your throat and you believe in me, then now all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, but this Gebbs guy, this Michael Gebbin guy says that's why. I've had too many things. There's things in life where we can go through step by steps and we can learn how to do things and then we figure it out and mold for ourselves. Well, there's other things that life's not a one size fits all. It's not a framework and a formula. And so, awesome. He is digging around on me. So I'm going to move on to that one. If you have other questions, let me know. I'm going to go in here real quick too. I love to work with clients that trust me and let me direct the shoot rather than clients that want to tell me what to do because they usually don't know what works and what doesn't. Yeah, that comes partly with personality. And it comes with that ability to speak up. It comes with that ability to not be, I describe a lot out the kind of Subway ordeal, which is, your Subway and the client is, the person coming in to get a Subway sandwich. And so there's nothing wrong. Subway makes a lot of money. But the reality is it's very cookie cutter. And the other thing about it is that when people walk in, they go, I want, the person, Subway doesn't make the sandwich how they want to make the sandwich. I don't just go in and go, hey, make me what you're feeling like today. You feeling like a meatball sub? Fantastic. That's what I'll have. I'm not saying nobody does that. I'm sure there are people that every once in a while walk into Subway. Well, 0.5% of the population has walked into a Subway and said, just make whatever you're feeling like today. Put whatever you want on it. I like everything. And if you ever had that too, sometimes it turns into, well, wait. I don't like that. You know what I mean? And so the thing about it is that you don't want to be Subway. You don't want to be an order taker because an order taker doesn't have much value. And what I mean by that is, if you want to play the quantity game and there's a guy I'm coaching right now, he's kind of playing the quantity game. He's getting a lot of videos. He's getting a lot of demand. He's in the $1,000 to $2,000 range per project. And I love that because it's a strategy right now to get out there, build up your reputation. The more demand you have than supply, because you can either do two things. You can continue now to hire people to continue to maintain those rates, or now you can start to really elevate your rates. And now you can work less time and make the same or even more money. But when you're a person who just kind of, essentially takes orders from everybody, there's not a lot of value because there's plenty of people who will take orders, can run a camera and get great footage. But it's being able, my man Chris Vande here on here, are really good at that, helping guide the client to what's best. I had a guy this morning, he's like, what do I do here? I got my clients, they're posting Dropbox links, they're posting the YouTube links, what the heck's going on here? Well, you got to educate them. I've been blessed to work with a lot of clients who already have Facebook ad people on staff or hire agencies or whatever. They know what to do with the videos. So I don't have to do as much of that educational part. But if you're working with clients who really don't know that much, and they're sitting here and they're taking you give them a link, you give them a Google Drive link or you give them a Dropbox link, and that's what you potentially use. I mean, I would highly encourage to use something like Vimeo, and that's how we get the review. We use the review link and they can leave notes. It's really great. It's great for the editors. But if you're doing these other things and then they're just dropping Dropbox links, look, if they don't get value out of the video because they don't know really what to do with it, then you could argue that's on them. It's not on them. I mean, and when you don't get referred from them because they don't even use it and get anything out of it, I mean, that's your problem per se. So now what do? Well, you can educate them. You could offer other services, but to me, depending on number of things, I want to be that person who becomes that trusted advisor, that friend who connects people, helps people figure things out. because then when they have an issue, I want them to think of me. I want them to come to me. Even if it's not always fully just to create the video, the more I'm on their mind, the better. And so hopefully that's making sense. Carlos, I understand your point, but the only problem I got with niches is, at least for me, is that it gets boring. I prefer to have a variety of stuff line up. Concierge this weekend, one wedding. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you heard the whole thing I said or not. I don't believe that one, because that's exactly the thing that pops up. Get boring. If you're able, because like I said, our niche wasn't fully, I ended up falling into niches because it's just what worked. And then I'm getting referrals and leads from all these things. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. You can be bored, but then, turn down the business because I don't really want to keep doing it because I'm bored. But, no matter what, to get different things, from a marketing perspective, depending on how much you're doing of any given thing and what kind of thing it is, and what kind of video project it is, depend on how much business is coming in. And so if you're able to stay busy and you got a variety of videos, I think the simple question for anybody is this simple question. How is it working for you? And I'm never going to tell somebody that if they love editing, they shouldn't edit and they should outsource it. If they love shooting, they shouldn't shoot. They should outsource it. If they have their business rocking and rolling and they're having a blast and they're shooting a dance recital one weekend and a wedding another weekend and something else another weekend and they're loving it and it's working, that they should change it and pick a niche. No. The question is, how is it working for you? And I think that's where a lot go wrong, because they shove down people's throats. Pick a niche. You have to. I saw a few of my friends who have multi-million-dollar companies. They, man, you guys are on fire today. Hell, half the time I can't get 5 comments. I appreciate the interaction today. If you're enjoying it, give some likes and love. I'm going to keep looking here. This is fantastic. I love the feedback. So a couple of my friends, they were solo guys who built companies to $1 to $3 million almost by themselves. And then they started to grow and they started to grow and they started to become more the CEO. They started to hire people, and what got them, because you say, well, what got you to where you got you isn't going to take you to where you want to go, right? Some version of that. And so what I found is probably 3 different examples of guys who became the CEO, started managing people, did the hiring and the firing, and their business actually then started to decline, and it didn't work for them. So what they did was they hired a CEO, and they actually pseudo became an employee within the organization, and they actually got back to the thing they loved the most and were the best at. So a couple of my friends that I'm thinking of, they were great at the marketing, at the creation, the content creation, but they stopped doing that. And they sucked at managing people, and they didn't really want to do that. And so that's where I really believe in people understanding themselves, having a level of self-awareness, and being able to put themselves in the best sweet spot for them, what resonates with them, what aligns with them and their personality and their desires. When you do that, you're going to win. It's when somebody tells you only do weddings. Well, I don't really want to do weddings. I'd like to do other things. No. Only do weddings. That's it. A person who doesn't really want to do something but has somebody else shoving it down their throat to do it, and they're conflicted because they think, well, this person might know what they're talking about, so I should probably no, I don't want to do it. I'm telling you, if things are working for you, keep doing it. If it's not and there's major issues, then that's the thing. That's why people hire me, because I know what works in their industry. Fantastic. Wow, you shot videos for them. Did you start coaching after meeting these people? Honestly, part of the thing that's on here that I'm so passionate about, honestly, the kind of coaching I do and the way that I offer it, quite frankly, I can't really find people to do it in the way that I do it because, one, I use this app called Voxer, and you kind of have access to me on a regular basis, but I diagnose situations and kind of give you the variables, and I let you choose what resonates for you. And I had a lot of people that gave advice that were very, do this, do that. And because they had success a certain way, they only knew the success through that filter and that lens. And so as a byproduct, they chose to give the advice based on that. So I don't want to sit in here and tell you that the way I grew my business will be the only way to succeed and grow a business. It'll be the only way to do things, because it's not. I'm not a black and white thinker, and neither should you. In fact, my goal is to get people to think better, think differently. and to not be black and white, but rather to really see in color, just like we shoot our videos. And so for me, I got sent down a lot of rabbit holes through the years of things that didn't work within my personality. I mean, a lot could argue, why the hell do this? I love doing it. And when there's freaking people interacting, I love it even more. And so, if you can't tell that, go watch the other 20. But I love doing this. But everybody was trying to get me to automate and remove myself and not be connected. And that wasn't working. But I didn't have enough self-awareness to understand that. And I had a certain success in video based on my personality, my ability to connect and network and build relationships and open up, reach the unreachable. And these things made a big difference. And then when I started to get into other things, I wasn't doing what really worked for me. So if that's making sense, this is great. You guys are killing it today. Usually I pound through these 4 topics in 20 minutes. I'm going to go to the 4th one here, but let me read this. Spot On and Randomly did a video once for free for a CrossFit gym. Just try some new equipment. Now that work keeps coming. Absolutely. I'm not really in a niche now, but will find myself now and then just ending up with a bunch of similar stuff just because of the referrals. So a lot of the times, yeah, absolutely. And then, hi, yes, we use Voxer on the farm as our walkie-talkies. Yeah, that's how I do my coaching. I don't know, Tristan, I don't think you're doing that yet. I can give you guys the link if any of you are interested in doing that. I have like a 30-day trial thing I do for my coaching with people. But number 3, the My Way decision to better videos, clients, and money. So I hadn't told my guy this morning when he had sent me the messages. He goes, it's interesting. When I have clients who, we're kind of tying this back in, who are kind of telling me what to do or trying to get me to emulate something versus letting me just be me and do my thing and do things. He said it, do things my way. And what I found was, and so he says, I make way better videos when I do things my way. And so I actually have on the Take MIA that the one guy put in the link, I have a link to an audiobook that I had done. It's a free download. And in there, one of the things that resonated most with people is I talked about the My Way decision. I didn't call it this back in the day, but it's what I came to find that multiple times throughout my life. It's something that I've kind of made the decision to do, and it really made a big impact. And so in video back in 2010, 2011, when I made this My Way decision, didn't call it then, but at the time, I wanted to give up. I was done with business and video. I had been doing it from 2004 through 2010. I was so stressed, so overwhelmed. I did not like life. It wasn't fun. I was 9 months behind delivering people's wedding videos, and I was just trying to emulate wedding videos to a degree. I mean, I kind of had my own style, but still I looked at people that I was inspired by, tried to use their songs, emulate the way they edit. I didn't steal, but I was trying to emulate the way things were. And what would happen is I'd end up at shoots and things didn't go a certain way, and it would really throw me off. And I wasn't having, yes, I will talk about that in a second. I'm signed up with it. Just haven't gotten rolling yet. Awesome. And so what I decided to do is said, I'm going to shoot, edit, speak, dress, music, everything my way. Now, I didn't convey this as an ask to my clients. I wasn't like, hey, Mr. Client, it's my way or the highway. Good luck. Thanks. It was the way I was able to articulate it was just, I had enough body of work, but I finally was like, I'm just going to do things my way. Like, I didn't get into this whole thing to end up where I'm at today. I have no freedom. I have no free time. I'm miserable. I'm not proud of half the kind of work I'm putting together. I'm either going to do this my way or I'm not doing it. And so when I talk to couples, basically, they were never telling me to emulate these other people. So I became this conglomerate of all these other people, but I stopped looking at all. So I wasn't inspired anymore to continue to look at all these other people. So I just was like, I'm going to do my thing. And when I talked to couples, again, they weren't telling me to emulate anybody, but I, basically if music got brought up, we want to pick out our own song. Well, all the videos you see on my site, the majority of them, so I could say majority, some weren't, but the majority were picked out by me. I find that if you want to pick out a few songs, that's fine. I can give you the place where I'd look, but I need like 4, 5, 6 songs. Because on that day when I do the same edit, the reality is I need variety because I don't know what's going to happen on your day, because that's one of the things I pride myself on. If you have a super, super emotional day and everybody's crying and it's not as high energy, and that happens on days, then I don't want a song that was picked out that's like boom, 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 going super excited. Everybody's, it should be high energy. Everybody's laughing, high fiving, hugging, and it, smiles. Like, I don't want a song like that if everything's super emotional, and I don't want the opposite. I don't want this, super high energy, visuals, and then pick out this super slow motion song. And so sometimes you can find songs that, of course, have that ebb and flow and that variety in it. But, when you leave it up to the client, they're not the one. I don't go, outside of the subway scenario I gave you earlier, you normally don't go and tell people how to do things. In a lot of scenarios, you let people do their thing. You might guide them a little bit. You can make it a little bit collaborative, but you hire an expert, you hire them because they're an expert at what they do, and you don't know how to do what they do. And so therefore you let them do what they do with a little bit of, guidance and thoughts of like, I really like this and I really like that. I would usually get them to tell me what they don't like, and I'd get them to let me pick out the songs, because you say, well, what do you dislike? What do you not want to see? I get them to tell me that. What are some things you really like? What kind of different songs or artists? Now it gives me a vibe and a flow, and I'm like, and you're going to have something that's completely original that not anybody else has, because I'm not just going to keep, the mainstream song that's on the radio or everybody else has chosen this. And so it blew up my business, quite frankly. In that next year is when I worked with Tim Ferriss and Tony Robbins and Richard Branson and these different people, and Josh Shipp and The Buried Life. Some of these people aren't even necessarily around. The Buried Life hasn't been on TV in a while, but these incredible things started happening because there was just this thing about me, this air, this confidence, this certainty that came out. And this is who I am. This is the kind of work I produce. And quite frankly, if you didn't want something, like we talk about a niche, my niche became more my style. If you didn't want that style, if you were like, we've got this custom project with all this scripting and storyboarding and staging and hiring actors, I'm like, I could hear that and go, I can't do it. I'm not willing to do it. I can't do it. I'm not good at it. But here's somebody else. If that's really what you want, because sometimes I could definitely talk people into still allowing me to do my thing, and why that would work better for what they said they wanted. But if they really wanted what they said that they wanted or needed, then I would say, we're not your person. We're not your company, and we don't do that. This is what we do, and we're excellent at it. And that's a powerful place to get to. Because it's harder to charge more when you have no confidence in what you're about to do. I had somebody on another live the other day. It was like, I'm not even quite sure that I want to get paid for the video. So if you got comments, thoughts, let me know. Give some likes and love if you're enjoying this. A little hell yes, rock and roll in the comments. You guys got it. I need a hell yes or rock and roll. I got a roll in here. Haven't got rolling yet. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to go on to the last one here in a second. MIA. So MIA stands for Massive Imperfect Action. It has, of a lot of my coaching clients, it's been something that has really transformed their lives, because a lot of times we sit here and we're crippled in inaction and indecision, and we don't do anything, and we're just listening to things like this where we're talking about things, we're learning, and we're doing all of those wonderful things that are necessary. But what I've found is that we don't really gain clarity until we take action. When you take action, you could have something you thought you were going to love and you don't like it at all. You could have something that you didn't think you were going to like and you love it. What I'm doing today was never, ever on my radar. You kind of say, do another topic in this, but why following your passion can be bad advice. And sometimes you're passionate, you're good at it, and it can make money. Sometimes there's things that, there's a lot of things we can make money at now, but I'm passionate and I love riding my bike. I love going to the movies, but can I make money riding a bike? Well, you can look out in the world and go, okay, Lance Armstrong made plenty of money riding a bike. Am I as passionate about riding a bike and focusing on becoming the most excellent biker on planet Earth to make my living as a bike rider? I'm not. So sometimes you can look and go, I'm passionate. Am I good or bad at it? Could I get better at it? And then can you make money at it? And you can look out into the world and ask those questions and see whether or not you could make money at it. But certain things are most definitely a way more difficult than others to make money at. So there's variables there. But what I find is action's everything. When you start acting and you start doing and you start, doing the things you're talking about, and you get out there and make the videos, things will start to happen. Momentum will start to happen. And you will gain clarity. And you will start to gain direction. You will start to get the momentum. It's like a train going down the track. The reality is it's hard to get a train going. But once it's going down the track, it's hard to stop. But if you stop that train and you start over, hard to get it going again. So a lot of times we never get any momentum. And so what I find is massive imperfect action is something super powerful. And I talk about you got to think about things, which we all do all the time. Then you got to start to try things. You got to tweak things. And then you toss things. Some things you'll keep. So after the tweaking, some things you'll keep and you'll keep doing and you'll repeat the process. But other things that just don't work and you toss them. So what advice do you want to give to us? How to know what we want to do in life? How to get clarity? I'm not quite sure exactly what that question mentions. I think you've been on here the entire 30 minutes I've been on the call. I want people to be able to do the kind of work they want with the kind of clients that they want. I want them to make the kind of money they want. I want them to have the freedom that they want to have and really enjoy life and do what they want to do. And I see so many, or to go full time if you want to go full time. I just had a buddy who's making double what he had at his job. He declared and defined that he wanted to be an editor after 4 years of coaching and knowing him. He finally made the decision, and now he has an editing position as an assistant editor on a Netflix series, and he just sent an audio this morning, and he is pumped. So he's employed somewhere, and he's pumped. But sometimes people have employment doing something they have no desire to do. They're not excited about it, but it doesn't mean that self-employment is the singular path that's right. And so I don't care about the technology part really at all for the most part, or any of that. I care about the person and what they desire, what they want, what they'd really like to do, and getting them to being able to do that on a regular basis as much as possible. Hopefully that answers the question. So this one I just thought was a little crazy because this shows why it can be hard to get a hold of influencers or big people. So I connected with Tim Ferriss in 2010. I just heard a podcast. He didn't have a podcast at the time. He only had 2 books out, I think, at the time. And I just heard him say on a podcast. Now, his podcast has had, I think, 400 million downloads now. And I just heard him say, there was a coach guy on there, that he has 600,000 plus unread emails. And he has over like 300 unread text messages. And he was feeling a little bit of anxiety around that. A lot of responsibility, a lot of pressure. I just say that to remember the fact that depending on who you're reaching out to, my little word connection back there is really important. But even in some scenarios, even with connections, it can be almost impossible. But I can tell you right now, being well connected, making connections, having strategic partners is huge because it's a lot easier to open a door when you already know somebody who can help open that door. That ties all the way back to the beginning of this, when you never know if your friend or your uncle or my mom cleans houses. Sometimes there's somebody that she's cleaning for. The very first wedding I ever did came from my best friend's neighbor. Like my best friend's parents, where he lived, the neighbor is who hired me to do my first wedding. And so you just never know, but you have to overcome sometimes the asking. And when you're clear on what you want to do, you start asking some people and say, this is what I want to do. Do you know anybody who could use that? It's amazing what can happen. But just recognize that depending on who you're reaching out to, some people get a high volume of things. So don't give up. Don't worry, but just recognize that's why connections are so important, because without connections, you can guarantee you ain't getting through to somebody like him ever without a connection at this point in time in his career. So anyways, off to see Men in Black this afternoon. Excited to have been on here. Hopefully that is all making sense. If you have any other questions, thoughts, concerns, or anything else, let me know. Leave it some likes and love if you have if you enjoyed this today, this Jumpstart session. A lot more comments and interaction on today's call. If I didn't answer your question, let me know. Take a drink of water. I know this typically has about a 60-second delay, so You'll hear it, and then you'll have another 60 seconds to be able to comment. And I'm more than happy to stay on just a little longer, and then we will go from there in the next few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. Hopefully, this will start coming out in podcast form. I plan on hopefully starting to create snippets out of this and being able to use that on different social platforms. So, when we have these 4 topics, sometimes I talk about a topic for 4 to 8, 10 minutes, kind of taking that out, making its own thing. And yeah, so excited about that. I joined a little late. Can you tell us more about yourself and what you do? Awesome. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I know it's funny. I said this one time and they're like, oh, well, we more than know who you are now. But every day there's 7,000 people in this group, and I guarantee there's probably not even 500 people in this group who've ever even watched or seen or heard me say anything. So anyways, I have had a video production company since I was in high school, 2004, and I graduated in 2005. I started originally doing funeral slideshows and then filmed my first wedding, I think, right after I graduated in 2005. And then from there, basically between 2005 and 2012, 13, well, probably more like 2011, I did anything for everybody. If it was related to video. I even did Photoshop jobs. I even uploaded back in the day. Keep hitting this water. Sorry. I even charged somebody $50 one time to upload a YouTube clip back in the day. And so I did funeral slideshows, graduations, dance recitals, church services. I filmed over 300 weddings, did my first same-day edit, which is what I kind of specialized in, won awards for, and spoke at conferences for. Did my first one, though, back in 2006 when there maybe was 20 or 30 guys in the United States doing same-day edits. It was when, it was 10 times harder than it was today because I had mini DV cameras where we had to have FireWire connected to the computer. And first time I did it, I didn't do it on a laptop. I connect the cables, and if the cables kind of came disconnected, it was a problem. And, we had to capture in real time. And so did that. And then in 2010, I reached out to Tim Ferriss, got connected with him, then was able to work with Tim Ferriss and Tony Robbins and Gary Vaynerchuk and Lewis Howes and Derek Halpern and Marie Forleo and Pat Flynn and Social Media Marketing World and Mastermind Talks and all these different things. I've been to Necker Island, which is Richard Branson's island, 4 times. It's been a crazy thing. So I still have an event and conference company. I typically hire 99% of it out. So anybody I'm always looking to connect with shooters and editors. Sometimes I need them, but I'm also the people I'm doing things for get really busy. They get double booked. I just had one buddy. We're like 5 people in now, and they've all been booked. And so I'm real big on connecting. But my main thing that I love and am passionate about and have helped a lot of people go from 0 to multiple 6 figures. And even one guy sold his company for almost $500,000 when 4 years prior to that, he was living in his parents' office space and not making any money. And so I love coaching and mentoring and helping, gain clarity, confidence, and connection in your life and get more aligned and clear on what you want. And when you do that and we overcome some of the BS limiting beliefs and crap that you got going on in your head, you'll take action, things will start to happen, and things will pick up from there. So that's the story there. And if you have any questions about any of that, you can definitely send me a message. I love everybody's feedback. I love seeing the positive comments on this, and excited to be here and excited to see where this is all going to go. I'm talking to Parker about some stuff, so we'll see what happens. And so rock and roll. Give us some likes and love. If you have any other questions, let me know. I will be here again. I'm typically doing these right now roughly about 3 to 5 times a week. When scheduling allows. And so off to see the Men in Black. Appreciate you all. Have an amazing evening. Keep rocking and rolling. And we will talk soon.